Welcome to the swamp. Have you ever died, resurrected, and come back with godlike powers? Well, today we're going to experience a game that will allow you to do that. This is Dawn of Defiance, still in early access, but let's see if it has what it takes. My name is Excalligator, and I review games using a category-based system built for survival, open world, and RPG titles. Each category is rated on a scale from 1 to 5, and if something doesn't apply to a specific game, it will not affect the overall score. Now let's get started. It is a mythological world where you build, fight, craft, and survive in ancient ruins while slowly gaining godlike powers. You'll be dodging trolls 1 minute and building on top of a hilltop the next. Let's see if Dawn of Defiance is worthy of the gods or if it deserves to be kicked into the pit like a Spartan reject. There is no character creation. You are dropped in as a pre-made character with no customizations, no real backstory, at least not yet. It's purely functional. You're basically a blank slate. There is no meaningful story development or personal stakes tied to your character so far, so there is not going to be a score here for that. But I hope it gets fleshed out sometime in the future with a character creator, or maybe just a name for your character altogether. Now, real quick, I do want to mention that from when I first started playing this game to this last recent playthrough, really, that the gameplay of the tutorial island, as it were, has changed. So you are going to see some older footage as well as some newer footage. However, the difference is that there are 3 shrines, and that the shrines themselves now have puzzles instead of just running up and gathering an item to turn into the boss. But let's start from the beginning. First, it pretty much just throws you onto a tutorial island. The island itself is pretty sizable considering it's just the starting zone. The objective is that you will learn the basic ropes through a quest line that it gives you at the top, to gather wood, gather stones, stuff like that, just to kind of get you along a step-by-step process. But along the way, you will find 3 shrines. Each shrine will have a puzzle for you to solve. By solving them, you will not only gain a godlike power, such as short flying, dashing, and so on, but then you will use those to destroy these seals, which will unlock a new temple that will require you to gather items. After you gather these items, it will unlock a boss battle. Now, the boss battle is no joke. You will have to actually dodge and weave around him and fight him smartly, unlike the NPCs that roam around. Once you get past the boss, you will now unlock a portal to go into the main area. And now the game is fully unlocked. But here's an issue. The intro is way too long. The tutorial island is disconnected from the mainland, so if you decide to build a full base or hoard your resources early on, you're going to be stuck hauling everything across through the portal, which makes what should be a brisk intro into a commitment. So with that, I'm going to have to rate this section a 3 out of 5 just for the disconnect of the starting zone to the mainland, but overall it was fairly solid. The world of Dawn of Defiance is sprawling. You have varied biomes, lush forests, sun-baked deserts, misty swamps, with all enemies, resources, and difficulty levels. Higher level areas are brutal if you are not geared up, so progression will feel natural. Also, it's not leveled in terms of item levels, it's leveled in terms of your gear progression. It also feels like you're not just walking into a place for the sake of sightseeing, but you're also earning it. At night, there are like these zombie-like creatures called the Lost or the Abandoned that will drop a special currency called ambrosia. You can also find it in flowers that will also bloom at night. This gives nighttime gameplay with a purpose, beyond just waiting around for morning. There are also shrines scattered around that can reward you with different things such as more ambrosia essence or empowerments, as well as chests that could just award you with coins or other resources. There are caves to discover, treasure to loot, hidden ruins, though admittedly a few areas feel a bit too empty. You can go several minutes without a point of interest, which does dampen a bit of the immersion. But overall exploration is compelling. There's enough to reward you with danger as well as keeping you pushing forward. So for that, I'm going to rate this section a 4 out of 5. Survival here takes a different approach. You're not just micromanaging food or water meters. Instead, food and potions will give you temporary buffs, boosting stamina, health regen, and more. This alone makes the system feel smooth and less intrusive without removing the challenge altogether. You can sleep through the night, though it means missing out on the nighttime exclusive Spirit Essence that only adds an interesting risk versus reward layer. When it comes to hunting, there are star ratings for animals. If you're sneaky and snipe them with a bow from a distance, you can preserve the quality of the meat. But if you bumble like a madman, you will lower the tier of the drops. It's a nice incentive to use stealth and approach situations tactically. But one of the best features is the skill system. Nearly everything you do, whether it's combat, sprinting, crafting, even gliding with your special abilities, will gain you various XP and level up over time. You will get better, faster, stronger the more you play, and it genuinely feels good. It's not just a gear-based progression, of course that's also involved. It's also character progression as well. So because of that, I'm going to rate this a 4.5 out of 5. It's not the best system in the world, it's not the most complex system in the world, but overall it is fairly solid. The building is done through a hammer tool which opens up construction options. It's simple to use and a fair amount of creativity. There's a decent variety of pieces that you can actually build something cool, if you're looking for a cool home that is, or you could just play it practical. But here's the catch, you're gonna need a lot of space. The crafting benches are everywhere. There are benches for smithing, tailoring, cooking, you name it. And if you're not ready for it, your base will end up looking really cluttered. Personally, I'm not a fan of excessive benches, crafting benches and stuff like that, so it's something you are going to want to plan for early on. When it comes to the crafting, a lot of it can be made instantly, while others might take a little bit of time, though the time needed to make certain items is actually pretty quick. Now, it generally works as if you're crafting an item itself, whether it's in your hand or in a bench, it's instant, but if you need to process something to make another item, then it will take time. Though again, it is fairly quick, and even if you have a ton of it to process, you could just leave it and come back later while going to do something else. It's actually pretty good to let something just process while you go and gather more material or keep building or fight, and then you come back home and everything is ready for you. Now, once you get out of the tutorial area, you'll notice that the crafting actually functions a little bit differently, at least when it comes to the weapons and armor. Now, the weapons and armor is actually similar to RuneScape, where you would make a specific type of weapon or armor, like a spear, sword, etc., but you can make it with the different metals available, starting from iron, going to steel, and eventually evolving into more fantasized metals, each tier obviously giving better bonuses and benefits. It would be roughly the same model, but sometimes with a different color representing the color of the metal that you use. Again, similar to RuneScape, which is why I use that example. It's nothing new, we've seen it before, but again, it works, it's solid. So for that, this whole section is gonna get a 4 out of 5. When it comes to the combat, a lot of the enemies are fairly basic, they don't really do much, though there are some enemies that can give you a bit of a run for your money, such as the boss battle I mentioned at the very start in the tutorial island, but there's more than just that out in the world. Also, remember what I said about gear-based progression, because you can find just random gorgons running around and they can one-shot you if you wander into the wrong neighborhood at the wrong time. But besides that, you have your light attack, heavy attack, dodges, rolls, and abilities such as the downward strike, or you can even charge in by holding down shift, running towards the enemy, and using an attack which will do a lunge attack. The enemy variety is a bit thin right now, but you'll still find a good mix of mythological creatures and basic wildlife. There are also now raids, as of the I'll get to this later, but as of the last patch, there are now a raid boss or raid bosses called the Gorgon Sisters, and they will add a real challenge as well as spectacle. Though I will say, when it comes to attacking versus blocking, there is a bit of a half-second delay, so you will need to commit to your attacks, or if you need to block, you will need to block ahead of time, or there might not be enough reaction to get your shield up between attacks, so you might take on damage in that case. It will force you to learn enemy patterns and not just mash buttons, but at the same time, that commitment will give combat weight. It's not overly complex, but it does kind of feel good to play. It's not that terrible, so for that, I will rate this a 4 out of 5. So this section is not going to be rated as it is still fairly early into development and there is not a lot of story to discover. Though after you get off the tutorial island, you do find a mysterious figure who will send you on basically generic quests to go gather stuff for him, and he will help you upgrade at the same time. But as of the last patch, in certain areas you will find some voice acting. So they are still developing and fleshing out the story and the world, but as of right now, because it is not finished, I don't want to give it a rating. We'll check back in when the game is fully complete in the 1.0. When it comes to the updates, they seem to be fairly consistent. There's a lot of hotfixes that happen, as well as minor updates, and just recently they released one of their first major updates, which introduced the Gorgon sisters, as I mentioned before, the first raid boss of the game. However, there's still more to come, and still an entire area of the map that is locked out, so we will be able to find that later on when they release more content. I don't know as of right now what the plan is for the development, if they have a roadmap or not, and with how slow the development is going, it might be another year or two before we see this game fully fleshed out, though I would say for now, the updates I would give a 3 out of 5 because we just don't know how long it's going to take, though they are still relatively consistent. When it comes to lag and bugs, the performance has been solid across the board. In my time playing, I saw maybe 1 or 2 minor frame drops, and a couple of stutters here and there, of course the occasional graphical bug, but nothing major. No crashes, no broken systems, no save file corruption, or anything that is, common in an early access game. So I would say that's a win for this section, and I will rate this a 4 out of 5. My overall score for the early access of Dawn of Defiance is going to be a 4 out of 5. This is an early access title with a strong core and a lot of potential. It nails the Greek fantasy atmosphere and delivers solid combat and survival systems, and it will keep you progressing with satisfying skill upgrades. It's not perfect, the intro is a bit too long, world density could use a bit of improvement, and we're still waiting on deeper story development, as well as more enemy variety. But the foundation is there, and it is solid. I would say if you enjoy survival games but want a mythological twist, then definitely give this one a shot. Now, my review is over, but before you see the outro, please stand by and listen to a trailer for my brand new novel that I myself wrote and have published. Check it out. And that is the end of this video. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to subscribe. I'll be diving into more in-depth reviews of open-world sandbox RPG games, including ones no one ever talk about, buried deep in the darkest corners of Steam. Some of them even look like the muck at the bottom of my pond. For pure gameplay content, check out my second channel, Excalligator Gaming, where I post full narrated playthroughs, funny shorts, and streams. Do you have a game that you think I should cover next? Drop it in the comments below. Florida Gatorman out.
An epic tale of myth, memory, and the price of peace. One boy stands between the world of men and the world of spirits. When Spanish ships arrive on the shores of Boriquen, young Guarocuya, Taino by birth and chosen as a spiritual guardian, is caught between 2 colliding worlds. As tensions rise and sacred lands come under threat, Guar joins Juan Ponce de Leon on a fateful expedition into the wilds of Florida, where the famed conquistador seeks the legendary Fountain of Youth. But the path is not an easy one. As they venture deeper into an untamed land, Guar must navigate uneasy alliances, cultural rifts, and ancient forces that stir in the dark. Mythical beasts from native lore haunt their journey, testing both the strength of men and the will of spirits. With each step, Guar is torn between loyalty to his people and a fragile hope for peace. And all the while, the spring waits, hidden, sacred, and fiercely protected.